All right, the Today newspaper starts and says 3 arrested over lynching of woman 67. Mr. IGP's photograph is here, and invigilators go wild. That's on the Today newspaper. Heritage says police dump informant, and school feeding caterers boycott cooking. 2 killed by collapsing building at Okpoigono in Accra. That's on the front page of the Daily Graphic. And then WAEC rules out any chance for 200 BEC candidates to write 2 papers. The president has been talking about the BEC and says free senior high school awaits you in September. The Gold Street Business says private pension funds increased by 45.39%, and 1,500 youth, 450 technical instructors to benefit from development program. The Daily Statesman says, give us support, not protection, Ghanaian businesses tell government. And then late Adam Hammer Memorial Trust Fund to be set up. The Independent says, don't rely on World Bank education reforms. The president talking there. The Finder, Galamsey arrest, probe cases well, Justice Doche charges security agencies. And then government to construct airstrip in central region. Students' interest in agriculture education declining. That's GES there talking. And some other newspapers. The Daily Guide is reporting the Kintampo water for tragedy report. Really will deal with those issues later. My guest this month to do the talking to my extreme left is a founder of the Youth Enterprise Development Network, Kasisi Ricky Pepper. Kasisi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm fine.
Thanks so much for joining us. And then in the middle is a member of parliament for the 2nd D constituency, Andrew Ejapa Mesa. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
Hope you're great.
I'm very well.
Thanks so much for joining us. And a member of the NPP. And then to my left is a former MP, a member of the NDC, George Lowe. George, good morning, too.
Good morning, Brian.
Grateful for your time this morning.
Good morning to my co-panelists.
Okay. All right. Let's begin this morning with the Daily Graphic. This story here, captured on page 16 by Daily Graphic, is suggesting that the 200 candidates who could not write the BEC through no fault of theirs cannot be helped. That's WAEC talking. According to WAEC, the candidate would have to wait and register as private candidates and write the exam in 2018. This according to the Public Affairs Director of the council, the West African Examinations Council, Mrs. Agnes Tekujo, talking there. Now, these candidates were from the Burugu Yoyo district, and the only thing for them now is to register and write as private candidate. The story captured on page 16 has several others. But Ricky, let me start with you. Should parents take up this issue and perhaps head to the courts?
Right. You see, you've taken the wind out of my sails. The truth of the matter is West African Examinations Council should be more proactive and more respectful of the sensibilities of these parents. So the next thing I advise is that they should go to court, and then it's going to be dragged. This is an organization that was set up for the examination of these people. Through no fault of these poor kids, they cannot write a paper. Now you are asking them to wait 1 additional year and to register at their own costs and to write these exams. The least I can say is that somebody has to tell WAEC that what they are doing is terribly unfair. And if I had my way, I would insist that they go to court, and not only should they be made to write this year, but probably even paid some compensations for the stress. Because I believe that their inability to write these 2 papers will affect their performance in the other papers. That's my first concern. The second concern is we are giving certain people the opportunity to say that you are treating certain parts of this country disrespectfully. Believe me, right, it's not tasty, but I'm going to say this. If this had happened in some suburb of Greater Accra region, Kumasi, I don't think that WAEC would have had the effrontery to suggest that these people write next year at their own costs. So difficult as it may be, I expect that they should go back on this decision. How much effort is it? I'm made to understand there are normally alternative questions, even way back in the days when we used to write.
Right.
So what prevents them from commandeering the assembly hall of the Bunkurugu Yo assembly, give them sufficient notice, and bring alternative questions and let these young people write and hopefully pass and continue with their lives? A year in a person's life it cannot be underrated. So I believe we have to set up on this issue and will not allow WAEC to ruin these people's future.
Okay, Honorable Mesa, WAEC is suggesting that the request of the people, in fact, these communities for a center was late in coming, and WAEC is suggesting that the processes of creating a center takes time. The communities did not put in the request early enough, and so WAEC is suggesting that you can't blame us. Are they right?
Well, to begin with, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers, particularly your viewers in my constituency, Second D. It's unfortunate that this has had to come to this, because yesterday, if I recall, I heard in the news reports that this same official from WAEC had indicated that, well, management was going to liaise with the ministry and the Ghana Education Service to dialogue and see what alternative arrangements can be made to accommodate these students. So it comes as really surprising to me that they have taken a decision not to allow them to rewrite through no fault of theirs. I think that this is something that the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education should take up seriously and ensure that, you know, some alternative arrangement is made for these people. Of course, I mean, the students had no role in setting up centers for the examination. So I don't see why they should suffer, you know, for acts that really was not within their control. It will be terribly unfair to them and their parents if this thing is allowed to stand.
I see. George, now we can't blame WAEC. Now GS says you need to give us adequate time. In fact, it's the acting Director General of GES talking here, Professor Pokwamankwa, saying that give us time for us to set up a center. Once you have not given us the time, well, we can't set up the center because we need to find out if the center is easily accessible. So perhaps we should blame the communities involved for not getting to the GES and WAEC in adequate time.
Well, let me also add to the good mornings to our cherished viewers. And, right, you see, I always say these things, and I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. When we are confronted with issues, those we pay to think, sit down and think and find a solution, throw their arms in the air. And for me, that worries me a lot. It means that, like I keep saying, it means that all the time we are going to the riverside with the basket. Nothing is coming out of our technocrats and those we listen to the Director General of Ghana Education Service. The service that have been set up to ensure that students get through school properly all the way to passing their external examination so that they can progress. He's thrown his hands not. He's not looking at a solution. He's looking at the problem even at this stage when a problem is obviously being created. He is not saying, well, let me get to WAEC and let's see. As for the, I mean, because for them, they are not thinking about the paramount interest of the students here. If they were, I'm sure that by today, some compromise
would have been reached.
Look, recently, remember that nursing case where a pregnant woman, nurse was sent out of the
because she was pregnant.
Because she was pregnant. Steps were taken to ensure that she wrote the papers, even the ones that she had missed. And then here, Ministry of Education, Director General.
The Ghana Education
The Ghana Education Service, Director General. He's telling you, he's telling you this. They are not even fighting for the students. I mean, it is totally not on. And I think that the earlier we all rise up to the responsibilities, the better. You see, I would take, for WAEC, WAEC has its mandate from one point to another to get questions ready, to get examiners and all that. Centers are created by the
GES.
Then certified by Y, because I believe that one.
Yes.
So if you haven't created a center, how are they going to write the exams? And I'm saying that the community may have created a problem, but that is only one aspect of it. Where a problem has been created, the only reason why we put professors and all these kinds of people there, because we believe they have the capacity to help resolve our challenges when they happen. And so I am not excited at all to hear these kinds of responses.
Honorable Mesa, is it not interesting that, in fact, in the middle of this confusion, a new center has been created at Bumprugu to allow these who missed the first two papers to continue writing?
So a center has been created, but they
So
cannot be allowed to write
the
initial
first
two
two
papers.
they missed.
Clearly. So if the exams had leaked, they could have found, they would have allowed them to rewrite.
Right.
No?
Yeah.
So I think that as we add our voices to the call, the Ghana Education Service would have to do what is right and ensure that these students do not suffer unduly. Because if they are now writing the rest of the papers, it stands to reason that some time should be made, you know, for them to make up for the two initial papers that they missed. You know, if it was the case that they were not going to be allowed to write all the papers because an examination center had not been set, that was a different conversation altogether. But now that the center has been set and is running, they should be allowed to do
To write the first two papers they missed.
Yes.
Ricky, wrap up on this one.
Quickly, I don't even see how the community comes in here. We have a Ghana Education Service with a very obtuse bureaucracy. And we don't know the number of students that are in that district. We are waiting for the community. Who is the community? The chief, the assemblyman to come and say, oh, I have this number of people, so set up an examination center. Like George was saying, this is all within the remit of the Ghana Education Service. With your circuit supervisors, etc., etc. You should have known the number of students. You should have known that there was need for an examination center. If government can get up and...
At the time that they registered for the exam.
Yes, exactly. You should have known the number of students. I mean, we can sit down and decide that we want to redemarcate a new district, and that does not require too much bureaucracy, and we cannot get an examination center for a number of students that have registered. So from the day they entered primary one, you are not monitoring them. You don't know the number of people in that district who are qualified. And like we have said, now you have a center.
A center is
And who came and told you about the need for that center? All of a sudden, within these few days, you've been able to institute a center. Please.
And a bus has been provided to
Oh my God.
convey
We've been sleeping on the
kids
job. That's all
to that center. All right, let's see what WAEC will do. But a Daily Guide this morning has the story, Kintampo Waterfall tragedy. It's act of God. That's what the report is saying. Investigators are working on the story is captured on page 6. Quickly, let's look at it. Right, the Kintampo Waterfall disaster, which claimed lives on Sunday, March 19, has been described as an act of God. A report presented to Parliament has revealed. Yesterday, the minister was there. Now, 20 people lost their lives there. Now, the report, which was presented by the tourism minister, says, despite the conclusion that the disaster was an act of God, other factors also contributed to the unfortunate event. The report concluded that although this was an act of God, a number of remote and immediate causes were identified as being instrumental to the accident. Ms. Afiku denied NPP vigilante group, Invincible Forces, had taken over the place. That's the report, denying that. Also in that report, it suggested that a review of the management structure of the place was also recommended by the audit team, as well as introduction of clearly defined public safety management measures and emergency preparedness and coordination. So several other recommendations issued. Honorable Mesa, let me begin with you. Now, we're told that it is an act of God, but there were other remote and immediate causes. Perhaps the story captured by the Daily Guide suggesting that it's an act of God seemed then to push the other causes to the background. Is that what you see?
Well, to begin with, I don't recall that Mrs. Afeku presented a report to Parliament yesterday. She responded to an urgent question that had been posed by Honorable Asiedu-Dartey. And in responding to the question, indicated that some investigations have been conducted into the cause of the disaster, and that the investigators had concluded that the disaster was caused by an act of God. Clearly, we all know that there were some storms that led to the falling of the tree into the water that resulted in the death of the students. So, in that sense, it was not a direct human intervention. It was the storms that brought the tree down and caused the death of the people. So I believe that that was the reason why the investigators concluded that there was an act of God. However, they also indicated that even though this was an act of God, if people had not farmed around the waterfall and some human activity had not taken place there, clearly the erosion would not have occurred such that the roots of the tree would have become weak and possibly would have withstood the force of the storm. So that was the conclusions that were reached, and so to that extent, yes, direct cause, act of God, but human factors aided or facilitated the falling of the tree, because farming around the waterfall clearly had created some erosion that weakened the tree and essentially led to this unfortunate incident.
I see. Is it possible that the minister might have given the so-called report to the Daily Guide, because Daily Guide is insisting clearly here that the minister presented a report to Parliament yesterday?
But I was in Parliament, and I'm indicating to you that, in fact, the minister was asked as to the availability of the report, and she indicated that it was going to be made available to the public in due course. You know, okay. But no report. I mean, the investigative report was not presented.
This was only an answer to a question.
Yes, she was answering a question, an urgent question that had been posed by the
member for
Asiedu-Dartey. Yes.
All right, I'm grateful, George. So where should our concentration be? The act of God, or perhaps the human factors that might have triggered God to act?
Well, right. Let me just fortify my brother's position by saying that I listened to Asiedu-Dartey this morning, and in actual fact, he's still insisting that the report must be brought. So he indicates that indeed a report has not been submitted to Parliament. Yes. And so he thinks that, you know, to be satisfied really about all that the minister has said, the Parliament must be given a copy of the report. So clearly, Daily Guide, maybe, you never know. I mean, knowing the stable Daily Guide is coming from, maybe the report has been given to them.
Are you suggesting they have the report?
I'm saying that it's possible.
Maybe if it was given today, it was not presented.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean that you are saying that they are insisting because they seem to be quoting from the report. And
yes,
like
I mean,
that.
if you read the paragraph,
so it's possible that the report has been given to them, but the clear thing is that it was not given to Parliament. It wasn't sent to Parliament. So that is about it. But act of God and act of man. You see, act of God, there's nothing you can do about it. When we say an act of God, it's an act of God. So when a tsunami is coming, you can't do anything about it. Tsunami will come anyway. For us, and for as for us Ghanaian people, our worry when this incident occurred was the human factor involved. And that is why this whole issue of even invisible forces came in. That they said that they had gone there, taking over from the people who had been hired officially to work there. And therefore, when the incident happened, they were not skilled enough to go and save people.
The minister denied, the report denied anything like that.
You haven't seen the report.
Happened.
You haven't seen the report. So let's not even talk about the report.
Yesterday she told Parliament that nothing.
I am saying that is those are the minister's words. Okay, that is why I believe that my colleague Okujeto wants to see the report, as we say in local parlance, fili. But having said
so
that,
why don't you wait to draw these conclusions?
I'm telling you what we heard.
Sitting in Accra.
Interviews were held. Opinion leaders, assembly members, and things like that in the area came and said on air live that it was because of this that the rescue operation could not, take place, and that accounted for people losing their lives. For me, that is something that we need further information on. So we hope that the report, when it comes out, will clear our doubts on all these things. But more importantly, and I agree with you entirely, as for art of God, like I said, we can't do anything about it. But as for art of man, we can. And we should concentrate on that. I'm happy they are talking about re-looking at the management structure and things like that. I think that all our tourist sites in Ghana suck. In fact, Ghanaians government is cheating Ghanaians by taking money for places like that. Because there's nothing to go and see. The waterfall there has been created by God. So that one, the government didn't create it. But at least the ambience, at least the safety measures, at least, I don't. When we go out of this country, I wonder if we do not open our eyes to see. And we are always attending one tourism fair or the other. Even the technocrats, that they are always on some training tour or something. I don't know what they bring back home. And that is why in other parts of the world, tourism is the thing. Some people is the number one foreign exchange earner. For us as a country, thank God, he has given us all that we need in terms of tourism. There is no region that can not boast of some great tourism sites. But what have we done with them? What have we done? Look at the new cash cow, the paragliding thing that we started. The last report I read there, it was nothing to feel good about. Because clearly, all we are interested in the Easter. We take some money, finish. We are not investing there. I've said on this program before that Ghana is blessed. We are the center of the earth. It is something we can market better than gold, better than cocoa. Yet we sit here and we say, there's no money. We are handicapped. We are going to IMF. We are going to IM this. We are going to this. We are going to that. We have our resources. We simply are not working at it. And the earlier we begin to, even this thing, for me, yes, it's good to know and things like that. But we should focus on, if you develop ourselves, great roads and all of that things. Yeah, when I was coming, I was listening to one of your sister radio stations. And we were talking about one of the nice private sector things they are doing, Asiedu University. But their major problem was that to access Asiedu, the road is so bad.
The Brekusu road.
The Brekusu road is so bad. So how could you go and put a good thing at a very difficult place to access? That's what we are doing with our tourists.
I see.
And it is a cash cow. Yesterday, the president was talking about curriculum and things that are not creating jobs. It is not true.
We'll come to talk about
Yes,
that.
I'm saying that they must understand that these are the things that create jobs. If you put the structures right, if you put all the great things, go to Gambia, a small country like Gambia.
If the curriculum is reformed,
wait, please.
Focus
we'll come to that.
We'll come to talk about that story.
But I'm saying that,
George, wrap up. Let me go to Ricky.
Go to a small country like Gambia. I remember that we went to Gambia, and when we went in Gambia, there are beach. And one member of parliament who comes from the Volta region remarked, he said, even the sand we have in Ghana is far nicer.
The Keta sand.
Yes.
Very nice.
But
white
look at what they have done with their black sea sand. And people troop there year in, year out. And that is the backbone of their economy. We should be ashamed of ourselves.
Ricky, we should perhaps be questioning God if indeed this is an act of God.
Right. Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of questioning God. But we are agents of God. And when we do not acquit ourselves properly, this is what happens. What is of particular interest to me is the politicization of this unfortunate tragedy. So it's supposed to be invisible forces that are taking over and they are ill-equipped to handle. My brother, if you take every 100 people in this country, 0 know how to do resuscitation of a person who's an accident. as we sit here, which of us knows how to resuscitate? If I collapsed here, none of you.
You better not.
Exactly.
I'll walk out the door.
Exactly.
You better not.
So the
Before I
point.
get implicated in some criminal act.
So these are the issues that we should be thinking about. In other countries, their colleagues who had not been affected would have had basic knowledge to be able to help them. I mean, those who were drowning. I don't know how to swim for my life. For some people, it's a staple. So rather than, as usual, make this a political matter and invisible forces took over or did not take over, we should forget that. Maybe now, when we get to the curriculum, maybe they should make it another requirement. You know, the other day I was so excited about the French thing, and somebody was lambasting me, say, "Oh, Kasisi, because you speak French." I said, "My brother, you and I, when we go to Burkina Faso, I can buy water. You can't. You will have to work with me." But maybe we should just seriously encourage swimming. I don't know how they even call it, CPU or something, how to resuscitate people when they have collapsed. Or even how to handle somebody who is in a certain situation. You know, all these things we do not know. But if it comes to the tourism matter, my brother, I have a personal experience. In my village, there's a very, very valiant effort. Unfortunately, because of the person who started it, I cannot continue to talk about it. Otherwise, I suggest that I'm advertising it. But there's a very valiant effort in my village. People come all the way. I've seen people come from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, all over the globe. Kofi Annan even came to visit there. I don't know what the Ministry of Tourism has ever done for this small effort.
My viewers want to know the name of your village.
Sirgu.
Sirgu, oh, all right.
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
that's very popular.
It's an initiative by a relative, so I don't want to go there.
I love the women there because of what they do.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And now, no, I will not. I won't take the bait. I won't advertise it. But the point here is that this is a retired teacher who used her pension to start an effort that is brought a whole world of change. And my good friend, our good friend Zurich, something Akwesi, I'm hoping that he's listening. Somebody has to go out there and do something about this. You go up to Nanya, the slave wall, Abedipele's village, nothing has been done. Not even a signboard, not even a proper catalogue if you arrive at Kotoka that says that these are the tourist sites in this country. Like my brother George Lowe said, gold is waiting for people to go down. Cocoa is waiting for weather. These tourist sites are there. You go to Vli. I went there in 1988 and I still have fond memories. Not to even talk of the coastal area and the number of forts and castles that we are allowing to decay. And we have a tourism board and a ministry of tourism, and we are not doing anything about these things. I lived in some parts of Asia, and these colonial buildings, they refurbished them into townhouses. And their market prices was millions of US dollars. You go into the city, all these colonial buildings, what are we doing? We are pushing them down, putting up some ridiculous monstrosities. We are not a serious bunch of people in this country. You go to Dixkov, you go to Elmina, you go even the Navrongo Cathedral. It's now a minor basilica. There is nowhere in this country on any government paper that says this is a tourist center. This is a minor basilica which was erected, I think, in 1906. It's made of earth. It's probably the only one in the whole world. Oh, yes, I guess so. We are not doing anything about these things. So anything happens, oh, it's NDC or MPP. My brother, we are sitting on gold and starving ourselves.
I see. Honorable Mesa, wrap up for me. The tourism minister, in reaction to what the concerns raised by George and Ricky, she's suggesting, for instance, that Kintampo would have a museum, a replica of Kwame Nkrumah's lodge, a campsite, a canopy walkway, hotels and cafeteria. In fact, she is also suggesting that a public liability insurance for all tour sites is also being pushed as a mandatory requirement for all attractions. So government is putting in some effort to put these places in shape?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, long overdue, but worthy of starting nonetheless. And so I will encourage the minister. I believe that, you know, when the cabinet list came out, people questioned some ministers who were in there, and some who were out. Clearly, the Minister of Tourism, Creative Arts is in there in cabinet. It tells you clearly that the focus of the government is to pay serious attention to the tourism sector. And I'm only hoping that she would up her ante and make sure that the task that has been assigned to her, she works hard to deliver so that we can all derive the benefits as a people.
All right. Ricky, let's get the Times newspaper quickly. Let's touch on this one. Office of Special Prosecutor Bill ready. Attorney General, they're talking now. The story captured on page 17 says that a draft bill for the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to deal with cases of corruption in the public sector is ready for stakeholders' input. That is scheduled for between June 26 and 29. And the bill makes provision forbidding, or that bill forbids the Attorney General to enter nolli prosequi, notice of discontinuation of cases in court.
Oh, you mean the Special Prosecutor?
The Special Prosecutor, yes. It also has a provision that makes the tenure of office of that Special Prosecutor not to coincide with the tenure of office of the appointing government. Now, the removal of the Special Prosecutor is particularly made cumbersome, and it is incentive in the bill. It goes on and on and on. George, indeed, this is the messiah we've been waiting for in the fight against corruption.
Well, I think that don't jump the gun.
I mean, from what we've seen here, I mean,
No,
the man can't be removed, or the woman can't be removed by the appointed.
There are many people who cannot remove by appointing authorities easily. It is impossible to say that he cannot be removed. He will be removed on stated grounds. So anybody who's, first of all, will come and say that, oh, we are putting up somebody who cannot be removed. Well, if the person is himself corrupt, is found of corruption, won't he be removed? Or if he's found to have engaged in some untoward behavior, that goes to compromise his office. He can be removed. So,
but isn't it the idea that so that if you appoint him, he can prosecute you because he knows you can't remove him?
Yes, yeah,
that is in the idea.
Yeah, that should be the idea, and that is what we should be talking about. Not that he cannot be removed.
All right.
He has been given independence. Wait, please.
Yes.
Well, we have been talking about independence. You'll be given independence of office. But what I'm saying is, why I'm saying don't jump the gun is that, you see, this whole idea of special prosecutor has challenges within the confines of the laws of Ghana. Okay?
Explain.
He cannot have the powers that is being ascribed to him because the Constitution has given those powers to the Attorney General,
which she can delegate.
Please.
I'll come to you
how much of that?
We'll address that.
You see,
address that.
How much of that power can the AG delegate? That is the question. Okay? If we are talking about a special prosecutor, then he shouldn't be under the ambit of the AG in any way. It shouldn't be a delegated power. It should be a power that you have to exercise. Just as the courts, the AG cannot control the Supreme Court. Okay? The courts, the Supreme Court, is being created as an independent, or the courts, not even the courts have been created as an independent system, which does not come under the ambit of the Attorney General or even the President. That is why you know that constitutionally, even the budget of the judiciary, right, cannot be altered by the President. If the President has issues, he should add his views and attack them and forward them for this. So it's not, those are the kind, if you want a special prosecutor who will be worth his salt, who can go out there, okay, then we cannot be talking about these ones that we're talking about. Look,
are you suggesting we can't tweak the law to deal with the concern?
Because that power is a constitutional power derived from the Constitution. I was vice chairman of Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary. We supervised all, Shraj, Ioko and all. They all have similar powers. But because they came, and they came under the ambit of the Attorney General. So anytime they were coming for our budget hearing, they were coming for all those things, the Attorney General led them. Okay? So the Attorney General has influence. We are creating a situation where, if my understanding, if the promise is true, the promise that was made. We want a special prosecutor that can prosecute the Attorney General, even herself. So this one that is going to be another creature under the office of the Attorney General one way or the other. We are only doing. Why not we then empower Iyoko to do all the same things?
Okay, George, you host the Honorable Minister. So he's raising some concerns. He thinks that the man or woman appointed can't act because he or she is under the Attorney General.
He himself made a preliminary statement that don't jump the gun. Yet he's gone ahead to jump the gun. You and I haven't seen the details of the bill. We don't know what the functions and powers of the office is going to be. We don't know whether it's going to be a separate agency that is created or it is going to be an agency under the Attorney General. Yet, you are sitting here and making all sorts of conclusions. The Attorney General only indicated the highlights during her meeting with the Chinese ambassador. And said that, per the report, because I have not seen the bill has not come to Parliament.
No, don't go there.
Have you seen the bill?
Listen,
You
prosecutorial power in this country under the Constitution of Ghana. Prosecutorial power cannot be given to anybody.
I am talking about.
You provide misinformation to the public. No, let me clarify.
Yes.
Give me one other.
You and I are lawyers.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
Ricky is a law student.
Ricky is listening.
Thankfully.
Now, wait. The power of the Attorney General, okay, is delegatable. She can delegate, and in fact, she delegates it to the police to commence prosecution in this country. She delegates it to SNIT and other state institutions to prosecute on her behalf.
Isn't George's concern then that if the AG then delegate that power to this special prosecutor cannot prosecute the AG? Is that concern not
even that? No, let me just clarify my point. Not even that. I am saying, if I delegate powers to you, I can clap back those powers anytime.
Okay, let me
put
that
read about
delegated
legislation. Delegation is such that if I delegate something to you, I'm your boss. So I said, do this and this and this. Can't I call you and say, no, this is not the instruction I gave. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that.
Is that possible?
So is it possible? Why is it that the Attorney General is able to tell the police don't prosecute?
Allow Honorable Minister to come in.
No, why is he able to tell the police don't prosecute? Why
allow Honorable Minister to come in. Honorable Minister,
so the Attorney General, does not tell the police don't prosecute. She provides advice on dockets that are submitted by the police to the Attorney General's department. Because you and I know that there are some offenses where the police themselves do not go ahead and prosecute without advice from the Attorney General's department. As in the case of this Kumasi incident that we're all talking about in a couple of weeks past. Now, we haven't seen the bill. The Office of the Special Prosecutor's Bill. We have not seen it. We do not know what the functions and powers of the Special Prosecutor is going to be.
What we know.
I can't. What do you mean by you can't give them a power?
Please don't interrupt, Honorable Minister.
What do you mean by who can't give them a power that they don't have?
We have not seen the bill, but what we know is that the prosecution part of the state is with the Attorney General.
Did you realize
that one we know?
Wait. Did you realize from the reportage that the power of nolli prosequi is not proposed to be given to
the trying to take it off.
It's not a matter of trying to take it away. It is a power that is exclusive to the Attorney General. And it is clearly being spelled out in there that the special prosecutor cannot have the power of nolli prosequi. But every other power that is going to be given to her in the bill, we will see and evaluate.
It's been
you understand?
Down. So anytime there's no water down. Put in a
Look, you see, there's another interesting aspect to the report that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is going to have the power to investigate and prosecute. So clearly it tells you that the objective is to take the ambit of the police prosecution, Iyoko and all that away, and some aspect of it be given to the Office of the Special Prosecutor to conduct his own investigations and prosecute. So let's wait for the bill and then we can interrogate the details going forward.
Let me go
Why
to the.
are you jumping the gun?
Let me go to the law. Let me go to the law student. He's been listening to his lecturers. now, Ricky. So you will be listening. You are convinced?
First of all, I didn't understand many of the things they said, but so I'm going to restrict myself to the pedestrian understanding. I do not share the optimism with, when you introduced, you said the Messiah. I mean, quote unquote. I do not share this optimism because it's a Ghanaian who is going to occupy this position. We've had ombudsman once upon a time. I don't remember any landmark, earth-shaking interventions. We have Iyoko. We have my own senior in Shraj, the interesting case of Anani, where, and I hope I'm not taking on for this, a very interesting gymnastics was done where we have ended up where you actually needed a human identifiable complainant when there was all manner of solid evidence. We have the recent case in Kumasi where we managed to tell ourselves that we did not have enough evidence, that a judge who was threatened in her, or is it his court, in the presence of police, with media coverage and everything, somehow we did not manage to get enough evidence to prosecute this matter. We are now, as usual, investing all our hopes in a new office. If anything at all, sometime at the beginning of this year, there was some news being made that there was a certain gentleman who was being slated for that position. So it's the person, the pedigree of this person alone that gives me some hope. But with all respect, Article 88, I think, is very, very clear. It says that the Attorney General is the lawyer of the government. And commonsensical arguments, if I delegate a power, you cannot have it more than me because I am the source of your power. So you cannot have it more than me. Are we going to come up with a new institution? Time will tell. But even if we come with a new institution, and I was very worried when my brother here and senior said that we're going to take some from Iyoko and some from Shraj and some from... So what happens to Iyoko? Are we going to abolish Iyoko? Because Iyoko has a very large, with all respect, arrogant ambit. If Iyoko is to go by their marching orders...
I need to clarify that.
I'll get you the chance
one
to do
second.
that.
Please, don't take me too seriously since I'm still a student. Iyoko has a very large ambit. If they are going to use what they are supposed to have, then there wouldn't be a need for a special prosecutor. So my concluding remarks are these. Ghanaians should not invest too much hope in a new organization. When we had Shraj, what do you call it? Human rights and administrative justice, economic and organized crime office, or was it bureau? Then we have Bureau of National Investigations. Then we have CID means what? Yes. Criminal Investigations Department. Then we have Military Intelligence, National Security, Financial Intelligence.
And we have
all these people, appropriately manned, incidentally, by lawyers, most of them, who have a serious knowledge of the law and who, by their profession, should be interested in justice. And yet, we think our future lies in the creation and outdooring, probably with pomp and pageantry, of another institution. I'll wait another couple of years before I can...
Mesa, you wanted to react to Ricky asking if Iyoko's powers were
like I said initially, I have not seen the bill. But if you read the report, it says that Iyoko and other institutions sometimes are overwhelmed with some of these investigative issues, and that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is going to be vested with the power to investigate. So they will conduct their own investigations. That's my understanding.
Oh, Yoko does it.
And yes, Yoko does
Then
investigations.
So what's new?
So essentially, what I sought to convey was that the office is going to be vested with investigative powers and prosecution. The AG's office does not do investigations. They only do prosecution. The police conduct all the investigations, prepare a docket, and then the AG's department will prosecute. But this office is going to be vested with the power to conduct its own investigations and conduct its prosecution. So that's the distinction. Ricky mentions that there's been several institutions, scattered all over, which is true. I think that clearly, if you look at Shraj, even when they conduct their investigations, they still ought to refer the matter to the Attorney General to prosecute. In this case, a special prosecutor, and the rationale, I understand, for the setting up of the office prosecutor is to take away the political role that the Attorney General plays.
The fact that he or she can prosecute party members.
And vest that power within a particular institution or organization that then has the power to investigate and prosecute on its own accord without reference to the Attorney General. So let's wait and see the bill. The fine details will be in there. We can subsequently interrogate it and see whether it is going to be another white elephant or that it will have the teeth to bite and bring some sanity into our public discourse.
I mean, but clearly from day one, you see the way my brother is struggling to fine-tune this. The reality on the ground is that, look, this is just a campaign promise struggling to be fulfilled. And it's not going to happen. Because, let me tell you, the reality on the ground is that if I want to help the issue, you have Yoko. So why don't you strengthen Yoko? If they are coming to do virtually the same thing, why don't you strengthen Yoko? Why do you have to go and set up another bureaucracy? To do what?
I see.
I mean, let's get serious in this country and stop being hanky-panky.
Right. We've had in this country the talk that there's a need for the Ministry of Justice to be separated from the Attorney General Department. You recall that conversation?
Of course, several times.
So why is he saying that it's a campaign promise that we are struggling to fulfill?
Talk by who?
You just said it.
There were promises.
Many people have
to
suggested that we should separate
listen,
the Attorney General Department from the Ministry of Justice.
Let me tell you.
So you don't know the functions of this office.
I am saying that until Article 88 is
dealt with,
amended or repealed.
I don't think there is a
you
need
cannot
to amend Article
You cannot
88.
do anything.
Let them bring the bill and then
besides
we'll interrogate
the AG.
it.
And let me tell you, once the AG can bring a null prosecution, she still retains that power.
So are you suggesting that the Attorney General can go and enter null prosecute in a case that is being prosecuted by the special prosecutor?
Yes, every case under the sun in this country, the AG, because it is being prosecuted on behalf of the state, the AG can stroll in there and say, we are no longer
let me engage.
Let them bring the bill and then let's interrogate.
Since I have two lawyers and a student here, I still want us to engage your minds on this issue about the General Legal Counsel on lawyer Francis Sosu Xavier, the fact that he's said to have advertised himself, he's said to have done certain things contrary to certain rules of the council. George, let me start with you. He said that he's going to appeal against the sanctions imposed on him. Where do you sit? That he's done wrong, he should just accept, or he should go ahead and appeal?
You see, right, it's a very interesting case. And you can see that consistently a lot of lawyers have had to go through this process and be disciplined.
Yes.
The latest being before this one was in Nwosu.
There was even in Kumasi.
Yeah, yes. Did you get this kind of reaction that you are getting from across the length and breadth of the country among lawyers in respect with lawyers? Because clearly, I think that once again, we are 300 years behind schedule in all the things that we do in this country, and we don't mind. We believe that conservative, this small room, people should. Today.
You're suggesting the council is wrong?
Why? Today. Right. When these laws were made, these archaic laws were made many years ago under the British, did they have internet? Did they have Facebook? Did they have all these new technologies that we have? Even in America, they have the yellow pages. In America, is it Baker? There's an authority that shows that, yes, they allow some level of advertisement. The British have moved away from that. We are still steeped in that, just as we are still steeped in wearing our black gown and wig in this hot sun. We are not progressive mentally. It's true.
Don't speak as if when the wigs were introduced, there was no sun.
I am saying that. I'm saying that when the wigs were introduced, they were introduced when we didn't have power to say no.
But we still had the sun.
Please, I am saying that they were introduced here when we didn't have the power to say no. Now we are an independent country.
60 years.
Are we independent in mind? Or we must tow whatever has been put there for us from time immemorial? You see, if we want to go by extension of many of these things, many people on the General Legal Council has no leg to stand on. How many times
how do you mean?
How many times haven't we heard them even talk about their own cases on air? How will you know about some people like Samoku Jeto and those things if they have not been called and they've espoused law in the public domain to showcase their skills?
Does that amount to
when you are showcasing your skills, what are you doing?
So are we sitting here advertising?
Oh, why?
No, I'm asking.
I am saying that when you are showcasing your skill, what does it amount?
You don't have to trivialize some things.
No, wait. I'm coming.
Punishment that was meted out to the gentleman.
Please,
I'm coming to you in a second.
We all
George,
agree.
please wrap up. Let me go.
No, you see, let's pay attention to this case very well. I am saying that. Two things. You know the Supreme Court itself has a landmark judgment that says that when it comes to an agreement between two adults, not even the Supreme Court can set it aside. This is a gentleman who has gone and has a written agreement with somebody that, oh, yes, I've done your case for you. So, yes, I've gotten you out. When I finish, that's my understanding. Now, compensation is coming in. Okay, I'll do the compensation for you. When I finish, this is how much I'll charge. And the gentleman should prove that throughout the process, he paid a dime. But are lawyers not allowed to retrieve or recover costs?
Your point is that even though there's a fixed charge, if it is agreed between the two,
there are scales of fees, but
it's okay.
I'm saying that, you see, sometimes, I'm sure my brother Mesa would, maybe he's afraid that he'll be hauled before he will admit. Sometimes,
he's not.
Here you are, somebody comes and says, look, I have 40 acres of land. I'm being litigated. I don't have a dime. I can't go to court. If you do it for me, I'll give you 10 plots. The 10 plots, depending on where the land is located, will be far more in excess than maybe what you would have charged. But this is a time when you are taking your money out of pocket. You don't even know whether you win the case or not. And for 10 years, for 5 years, you are going to court, buying your own fuel, filing papers, representing with your skill. And so when you finish, and that agreement persists, and I get my 10 plots of land, then somebody sees somewhere and say, no. It's a different thing when I do a bill that you have a scale of fees that you must charge, or there are particular services that can be governed by those scales of. But even apart from those scales of fees, because some of the lawyers, you are allowed to charge by the hour, depending on your level of seniority and things like that. But there are other agreements. I have worked in a firm where we agree with the banks we work for, that we will pre-finance everything, and then we'll claim. Or when we are going to file, we'll come to your office, you take your filing fee, go and file. Depending on the arrangement you have. I clearly think that this punishment is high-handed and that it must be looked at again. I'm encouraging Xavier, all of us are with him. Let's go on appeal. He should go on appeal and let's see how the appeal plays. I am confident that the appeal will overturn this.
Honorable Mesa, you seem to disagree sharply with George's views.
Not in respect of the
compensation.
I'm sure he's collected some land in excess of this.
George.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not a landlord. I don't practice land law. To the extent that the punishment is harsh, I tend to agree with George. I mean, 3 years is a long time. I mean, to deprive somebody for earning an income for 3 years, I think is rather on the high side. In respect of the breach of the rules, my understanding is that the gentleman himself admitted that, yes, I'm guilty of the offenses charged. And so necessarily punishment was applied. It is the punishment that I believe he is going to court to seek a review, not that he was not at fault or that he did not breach the rules of the General Legal Council. That he, I understand, admitted that in fact the charge that he applied was in excess of the approved charges, and that the content and information that he'd put out on social media clearly constitutes advertisement, which is not in accord with the rules of practice. I mean, yes, new media has evolved, but at the time that these rules were made, some mode of advertisement consistent with those times were there, but it was not allowed. And that is what it is until the rules are changed. I think we are all enjoined as professionals who have sworn an oath to be admitted into those professions to abide by the code and ethics of the profession.
But you see,
punishment harsh.
Let me make a point. All law firms, 90% of law firms have websites.
Okay, some law firms have
websites. Yes. So what about that? The General Legal Council hasn't seen the website.
Having websites.
When we advertise lawyers, their faces, their skills, their degrees, their why?
George, your point is taken. Honorable Sir, please go.
Websites. Website constitute advertisement.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, we need to take a look at that.
Yes,
so you go on.
I mean,
to that extent.
Look,
they all have websites.
I have a website. My firm has a website. Yes.
So are you not advertising?
What is it for?
Well,
General Legal Council, he's here.
I don't have a problem. I mean,
George.
You probably have people. I mean, this is. I don't know whether it's advertising or not, but you know, some
elsewhere are looking for you. They go to your website and they know that you are. Then they contact you.
There are legal directories that people are listed on.
Yes, it's advertisement.
Maybe not. I don't know to what extent that this information that is alleged to have put on Facebook, that he himself too went to admit that is creating problems. I mean, the punishment is harsh. Okay. That there's no.
Let me get Ricky.
Okay,
I'll get a lawsuit there, then we'll wrap up.
Incidentally, a year and a half ago, I was talking to a friend of mine who is a lawyer. And I thought the person was particularly brilliant in the sense that the person was, even before I started this study, the person was able to explain certain legal things to me in a very simple way. And I spoke to this friend, I said, why don't you start a blog so that you can reduce the legal intricacies to those of us laymen? And the person said, they are not allowed to advertise. 1.5 years ago. And the person was very, very unhappy about these requirements. Fast forward, this thing comes. So that's why I'm very excited. 2 lawyers sit here, admit without question that these things are anachronistic, and none of them has bothered to take the matter up. SOSU provides the opportunity for either these rules to be rehashed or for them to be thrown away altogether. In fact, these are not the only rules that are completely outdated and ridiculous. But I think my seniors, I hope I'm pardoned.
Your lecturers or your seniors?
I'm hoping that when I make it to the profession, I'll call them seniors.
All right.
But they know that in other areas, they are senior. There are so many other rules that they are not bothering with. They are worried about their parliamentary professions. They are worried about their political agendas and their businesses. But the rules, the law books, it's ridiculous. There are certain crimes in this country. If you see the penalty, it does not scare anybody. So as a group of people, they should actually be thinking of bringing all these things to the 21st century. They shouldn't wait until one of them emerge as a human rights, activist is the one who has been bitten by them. And that he has the arsenal to go and defend himself. Like he said, he went and admitted. That means he agrees, at least that the status, according to the status quo, he's wrong. But can he begin to initiate a process for them to be, more open-minded? Because sincerely speaking, when you ask whether you're advertising yourself, yes. Whether you like it or not, people will call me and say, that guy your right was very brilliant. Yeah. And tomorrow they are going to call me, Charlie, you know the guy. Yeah. Do you have his number? Yes. You are advertising yourselves. Your website is an advert. When you even get up and you you hold your wig here and you are walking, if you have a car, we won't find you. But if you are in the trotro line, people will see you. Are advertising. Yeah. I mean, when you go to certain organizations, legal department, and they will say Harvard, Glasgow. What are you talking about? All
right. I've run out of time. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I guess we'll continue this conversation. Kasisi Ricky Pepper, he's a law student. He's learning very hard. He's also the founder of the Youth Enterprise Development Foundation. I'm grateful for your time this morning. And then Andre Jepa Mesa is a member of parliament for the Secondary constituency. He's a legal practitioner, so maybe if I say that, I could be advertising because he's all asks for a lawyer's number. I'll gladly give that number to him.
And George too.
And George too. George Lowe is a former MP and a member of the NDC. Gentlemen, grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Let's take a break, and when we come back, the sports team will be ready with all the news from the camp of the Black Stars.